welcome. We're so glad you have joined us again. This is our end of month ADRA update for the month of April. We have some exciting guests we're going to be interviewing today and speaking with, and we're just so thankful that you have joined us, and we hope you get a blessing and completely just enjoy the program. Our first guest today is Anita Odondi. She is the Emergency Management Director for ADRA Canada, and we're excited to have you, Anita.
Thank you, Teresa. It's a blessing to be here. There's so much trouble going on in the world right now, and but just to give a few examples of what ADRA is doing and where ADRA is at. You remember in February this year there was earthquakes in Turkey and Syria.
Yes.
So ADRA is still on the ground. In fact, we have one of our colleagues, Sonia, there too. ADRA Syria is on the ground. Millions of people affected. Thousands of people died. Hospitals, schools, mosques were destroyed. So at the beginning there was distribution of food and water and life-saving intervention. And right now ADRA is still providing food. In addition to providing drinking water, is now repairing the water sources so that it's a little bit more sustainable. ADRA is partnering with other agencies to make sure that in the shelters there's protection issues are taken care of, because people are out of their homes. They are in common places with many people. So small things like making sure that the wash facilities have locks, that there's enough lighting, are things that ADRA is doing, repairing the shelters, repairing the homes, small emergency repairs, so that for the buildings that are still safe, where it has been guaranteed safe, families can begin to go back. There are many happy stories we have received of people just grateful, those that have family members that are on the spectrum, for example, being able to have a place where they can feel safe and calm is very helpful. There's still a lot of food security interventions that are going on, and distribution of hygiene items, because the need doesn't stop, you know, of making sure that women have their dignity items. Men also need to have certain items to make sure that they are not suffering from depression, you know, the after effects of being in such a situation. So that's Syria, and we know that ADRA will continue to be there because ADRA was there before the earthquake, and we'll go into more development, longer term projects as things settle down and as infrastructure gets rebuilt, but that takes time.
So then what happens is that after the emergency response, the initial, then ADRA will remain there and to continue building infrastructure and things of that nature. So then will it become a development project?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yes. So it comes from initial life-saving emergency to a little bit mid-term emergency, and then to early recovery, and then development, to make sure that people, you know, gently slide into going back where they used to be, and better.
So that's the process, and the whole time ADRA is a part of that process.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. This is what God has called us to do, relief and development. And we also are still in Ukraine, more than a year after the unfortunate war started in Ukraine. ADRA continues to provide cash assistance, because people are still moving a lot. The war is still going on, and they need to be able to provide for themselves things that they need, transportation to safer areas, food, water, medical care, and different things. So cash is the big one that we are doing, but also protection a lot. And initially, you know, when we started this intervention, we're thinking of protection in terms of making sure that if women are traveling alone, because most men had were in the war, that they are not taken advantage of. in any way, that children are safe. And now that the soldiers are going in, cycles, they come back home for a short time and then go back to war. We are finding a lot that the soldiers need their psychosocial support because the things that they have seen and experienced in the war and then come back home for a break, they are not the same people. Amazing. So ADRA is providing this kind of support to the men as well. And there's still distribution of food because people are not planting, they are not working. Right. They still need the essential things of life. There's
in a commemorative video, I saw that ADRA was a part of the distribution of 18.3 million loaves of bread.
Yes. And it's more now. By now it's more than that.
Yes. But very active, right? And this 56,000 people transported out to safety and significant numbers that represent impact, right, on people's lives. And that regardless of what is happening, there are people who are in need, who are suffering, and ADRA is there to assist and feed that, right? That need.
Yes, and that need continues to grow because all these disasters are still happening. And so in addition to Syria and Ukraine, we still have Yemen that has been going on for years. There's still war in Yemen, even if, praise the Lord, peace, there's hope.
Yes.
Peace is beginning. But we are still in Yemen because after more than a decade of war, you can imagine what the situation is. So similar to Syria, we were there, are there, and still need to be there for many years to come, at least to bring back things into regular life, which takes time. Right. So there's Yemen. There's still the Horn of Africa, where there was a hunger crisis. Right. And this is still going on. We still have food assistance and food support projects there. There's Haiti. You have seen the news, what's going on in Haiti. And as a result of this crisis, there are many people that are suffering from hunger, from protection issues, and from not having any resources to survive life. We have Venezuela that is not in the news much, but there's still a lot going on there, and ADRA is there providing food. Because of the economic crisis, families are unable to take care of themselves. Right. There are so many disasters around the world. You just need to switch on your TV and then you'll see what's going on. But God is working through ADRA. God has called us to do this work, to be our brother's keeper in any way possible. So we need all the resources we can gather because ADRA, as you know, as everyone knows, I believe, we're in more than 100 countries, or is it more than 130 countries? Yes. So we have the capacity to reach to those that are most vulnerable. We need the resources.
Absolutely. Yes. And you know what? It's through your support that allows ADRA to be present at every moment of brokenness in people's lives. Thank you so much, Anita, for being on today and just for bringing our viewers an update on what is happening connected to ADRA Canada in particular, and ADRA as the 128 office global network, and how we respond and provide responses through relief and through emergencies. Thank you so much, Anita.
Thank you, Teresa. God bless.
Thank you. It was so great to have Anita here to give us an update of emergency responses happening around the world, and she focused in particular on Ukraine during this time. We have a video that came back in February as a report from them that spoke to just their gratefulness of how the world has rallied around them, and you see such a resilience in the Ukrainian people. And so at this time, we're going to turn to that video.
Years ago, on February 24, at 4 in the morning, the life of everyone in our country changed. We heard these shots, we saw those tanks, like soldiers, and so many which war contains. We sympathize with the first destroyed destinies and losses. With the first shots, our face was shaken. With the first rockets, we doubted whether there is any justice, whether there is any hope, love in this world. However, day after day, we received more and more help that restored our faith. We felt support and care even from complete strangers. We received hundreds of calls from our donors and partners with just one question: how we can help? And you helped. You did help. You extended a helping hand and made it clear that we are not alone and that together we can overcome any difficulties. We are grateful to our partners and people, governments. Thanks to their support, we have helped millions of people. We evacuated to a safe place, provided shelter to the most necessary people. We gave them shoes, clothes, food. We provided psychosocial support. We prayed with them. We are thankful to Germany, Romania, Japan, France, the USA, South Korea, Slovakia, Belgium, Canada, Sweden, Austria, Czech Republic, Italy, Portugal, Slovenia, and many more countries, and more important, people who cared and who helped us, who continue to help us, who support us, and with this we can support others. From the first days of the war, our drivers, risking their own lives, began to take people out of the shelling, to move them to the safer place. Our volunteers distributed food packages and saw with their own eyes, just like us and the whole ADRA team and so many volunteers, the pain and despair of people who live in the frontline regions that were under occupation, that are under occupation and have nothing to eat and nothing to drink. Tens of thousands of people who lost everything because of the war receive now support, financial support. We sheltered those who had nowhere to go. We built new shelters. We provided protection centers with what they need. We provide people with heating and light. And when there is no electricity, people can still feel the warmth that you have given them. Our team of psychologists supported those who were in despair and did not know where to find the strength to move on. We helped to restore housing to those who lost it. Because of this war, now we can see that the distance between when everything is good and everything is not so good is very small. And just one shell can take out the whole house, which is behind me, with family living there, with their plans, with their future in their heads. Just with seconds, just went off, went away. The house like that, there are so many all over this country. And unfortunately, the war continues. And every day we can hear more and more shelling and rockets and missiles landing. The sorrow continues, the war continues, but having you as our partner, having you as our friend, we can rely on this support and move on to save another and another life. What is more blessing? What is more enjoyable when you know that you are useful for somebody else? We are happy that we have this opportunity. And again, this is because we are together. May God continue to bless you, your families, as you support Ukraine and many other countries who are facing difficult times. We are sure that one time we'll see each other together and say thank you in person.
Today we have with us Crystal Weststrate, our new Donor Experience Officer. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, she's going to talk to us a little bit about the pivot that we've done in being a little bit more donor-centric at ADRA Canada. And so I see you have something here on the table with you. So do you want to talk to us for just a moment about the donor experience and then what you've developed along the way?
So in January, I took on the position of Donor Experience Officer. There has been a need to do some more reporting and some more acknowledgement of the support we're getting from our donors. One of the newest things is our Angels Impact newsletter. And so every month, this is the second edition, we are putting out a newsletter that explains what's happening. There's project updates, there's some advertising, there's ways of getting involved, and my favorite part, the donor story.
Yes.
The response has been great. The donors are really enjoying the monthly updates, and the information we're putting in these newsletters is not available to everyone.
So a little bit of an insider look at it, right? They get a little exclusive look. So share with us real quick, what has been your favorite donor story so far?
My favorite donor story is actually the very first one I did, and that was for the February issue. It was on a gentleman, a brand new donor. He grew up in the church. He'd heard about ADRA. His mother is a very good supporter, very loyal, but his first gift came after Ukraine. The war in Ukraine began. And because he saw a van in Ukraine with the ADRA logo, taking people out of the war-torn country. This was ultimately the reason why he gave his first donation to us.
Wow, look at that. So that was in the first edition.
Yes.
And now, so what is the edition that you have for us here? And I'll just show this a little bit, and maybe we'll put this even on a flip book so that you can have a look at it. But this is the hard copy that they receive in the mail, correct?
Yes. So we do send it either by mail or by email. And this issue here was last month's. I'm currently working on this month. It'll be sent very soon.
Yes, yes, very good. And so what do you need to do, Crystal, in order to access this exclusive content?
So this newsletter is available to generous donors who give over $500 a year, are monthly donors, or have made a pledge.
Very good. So if you want access to this very well developed and created newsletter every single month that has very special information connected to ADRA Canada, we encourage you to please go to our website, adra.ca, and become a monthly donor. Thank you so much for being here, Crystal, and for talking to us a little bit about our donor journey.
Thank you.
We have something special coming in the month of May that I want to draw your attention to. Across Canada in Seventh-day Adventist churches, there will be an offering taken up. Now remember, this is your loose offering. If you would like a tax receipt, please put that on your tithe envelope and place it in the offering plate. Another place you can give is at adra.ca/DFRO. This year, we've looked at our disaster and famine relief offering through the lens of our mothers and focused on 3 mothers around the world who are in either war-torn or famine-ridden countries and what ADRA looks like connected to them. One mother in particular said that when my husband left, ADRA was there to be my husband. Thank you so much. It is your impact that truly makes a difference in these people's lives. So May 13, 2023, give generously. So we're excited today to have our Executive Director, Steve Matthews, with us. Welcome to the program, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
And today we're going to highlight in particular Sudan. Now, ADRA Canada has had a long-standing relationship with Sudan, from what I understand. Can
Yeah,
you
that's
just
correct.
explain a little bit of how we're active there?
Yeah, we have in Sudan, we have a combination of development and humanitarian projects. As you said, we've been there for a number of years. One of our projects is a humanitarian project, and we've been there with that one alone for 6 years. We have a new development. It's a education in conflict development type project called Bright.
Yes.
The Bright project is in its 3rd year right now. So yeah, we've been there. We have a Canadian Food Grains Bank project that's been ongoing in Sudan as well. It's actually one of our biggest partner offices. We've been there for a long time and have really cultivated a strong working relationship with that partner.
Very good, Steve. And from what I understand, the need right now is even more accelerated as we see Sudan all over the news. Can you explain to us just a little bit about what is taking place and how is ADRA engaged there?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tragic to see what's happening in Sudan. As you know, we recently had an entire team of our members there, including myself. We were there for what was called dissemination meetings, where we brought in partners who are, the Bright Project is being done in Sudan, Myanmar, and Niger. And Sudan was the most stable country for us to hold these meetings in.
Wow.
That'll give you the context of where we're working. And so at one point while we were there, I was sitting out in the evening having a meal with Douglas Pereira, who's our philanthropy and marketing director, and you could just suddenly hear this pop, 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 and we were wondering, what is that noise? And our service, don't worry about it, it's just tear gas bombs being shot off. We were, our hotel was would have been less than 2 kilometers from the presidential property, and that's where a lot of protests take place, and that night was one of those times where they had those protests, and they were dispersing the protesters at the time. You know, it's very surreal after being there and spending 2 weeks basically with our team on the ground there just recently, and now knowing that they're fleeing for their lives. We've had many of our staff members who've left the city and gone back to their rural homes where tensions aren't quite as bad. There's not that active fighting taking place.
Yes.
We also have any of our expat staff members, those that, for those that aren't aware what expat is, those that are working in Sudan but aren't from Sudan. Our country director is from Scandinavia, so our programs director is from Yemen. So we're trying to get them out of the country as well. So there's been a UN convoy to help get our people out to Port Sudan, and from Port Sudan to either try to fly them out, and some of them have had to take a ferry out, because even to land at the airstrip in Port Sudan has been problematic for even the United Nations to get in.
Wow.
So that's the context that our staff are going through right now. As we're recording this now, we've got one family that's been able to get out, and we have a number waiting who are supposed to be leaving today to get out of the country.
Wow, and from what I understand, at times that journey can be 8 to 12 hours of just, part of this convoy or traveling.
Yeah, well, the convoy, in the end, it ended up taking about 25 hours.
Oh, wow.
From Khartoum to Port Sudan. There were over 100 vehicles and over 1,000 people involved in this convoy. And the ferry to go from Port Sudan to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, that's about a 12-hour ferry crossing. So that's the route that they're taking to try to get out of the country.
We can't even imagine, right? And so we solicit prayers and just support in various capacities as we attempt to stabilize at least some of our presence there, right, with our staff and employees.
Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight that while we've had to take shelter while this conflict is really at its peak, our real goal is to get back in and be able to get our project started again. We, even in Blue Nile, we've still been able to move forward with some of our project work there. In West Darfur, things are really, really tense there right now. So our staff are just sheltering and trying to stay safe. But our goal is to get going again right away, because prior to this, about 1/3 of the country, almost 16 million people, were in need of humanitarian aid.
Wow.
The big concern is that as this war is taking place and as tensions are ramping up,
Yes.
humanitarian organizations are having to pull back for safety considerations, which is going to make it even worse for those 15.8 million people in need. And on top of that, it's probably going to push others into need for humanitarian aid as well. So we really do need to be able to get back in there as quickly as possible to be able to provide that life-saving support for these individuals who really are relying upon us to basically help them survive.
Right, right. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for being on the ADRA update today and for just giving us, a glimpse into not only what's taking place, but how we have been actively engaged in Sudan and just what your partnership means connected to impacting the lives of those who truly need it. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity just to share some of what's taking place there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for journeying with us today. It was good to have you along. We hope that you join us next month for our ADRA Update magazine review. You can find us on all social media platforms, including YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Again, thank you so much. It's viewers like you who truly make the work of ADRA impactful in people's lives, and so we thank you. See you here next month.